Reese from the Point Music Podcast thingy. All right, short story with this one. This is take two, believe it or not, of the same podcast. The first one we did, we spent the whole half-hour interview with the guest and went to go edit it, and there was no sound that had come through on his side. My fault, wasn't his fault. There's some glitch in there, and it's happened before, and I think I sorted it out. So, I managed to basically get it reorganized for another one, and luckily he was ready to jump on board, and so glad he did, because it was a completely different podcast this time around. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. So, the special guest for this podcast is Noah from Radio Free Alice, Melbourne band. Also, sort of like they will be going to London. I didn't mention this one; it was in the previous one. They've got a new EP out called Polyester. They're currently touring it, and you should check it out, particularly if you like stuff like The Smiths, The Cure, Block Party, The Strokes, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's right up your alley. Really enjoyed that EP, and really enjoyed chatting with Noah again. Ladies and gentlemen, people all sorts, this is Noah from Radio Free Alice. Yeah, let's do this thing. It's round 2. Here we go. Noah from Radio Free Alice. Okay, so short story. We did this podcast last night, and it was fucking fun and dandy. And I went to go and edit it, and there was no goddamn sound on Noah's end, which was great. So we have to do this again. But it gave me time to think about stuff. So firstly, we were talking about the new EP, which will actually come out once this goes live. We'll be ready. Congratulations on Polyester coming out into the world on the 21st of August, man.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Now, when we talked last night and you asked me my thoughts on it, and in comparison to the previous EP, now I had to listen a little bit more to the previous EP, and like I said, there are the Strokes comparisons and the like old school, like early Vampire Weekend in there a little bit too. And
nice.
I said with Polyester, which is the new one, that I felt it darker in tone, and I couldn't quite think of a word to really explain it, and now I know what it is. There is a little bit of menace involved in it.
Anger?
Well, not anger, just menace. There's a difference between anger and menace.
More villainous, kind of.
Yeah, something just underlying and biting, I guess. So, can you explain the difference between those two EPs then? Like the mindset you must have been in to see that change?
Yeah. Yeah. Fuck. I don't know. It's like the first one. I was kind of listening to it with a friend in a car because I was traveling to Turkey with a friend, and these random people who were hitchhiking put the first EP on, and we kind of looked at each other and we were laughing because of how happy it is. It's like such a happy EP.
It's very bright,
and it's only so bright, and I didn't even really think that at the time. It's only now I'm like, God, it was so bright and like jolly, and like these choruses are so ridiculously like I don't know about ridiculously, just like super like optimistic.
Well, that's
music.
where the Vampire Weekend comparison was coming in for me, I think.
Yeah. I love that. Like I kind of always at the time I wanted to make the best music whilst being totally accessible. Like I wanted to make pop music.
Yeah.
But like good pop music, which is sort of, I think the world's in more dire need of good pop music than it is good alternative music. There's a lot of great alternative music. I don't think there's that much good pop music.
In what way?
Or there is, it's there, but I think that there's a separation now more than ever between the alternative world and the mainstream world. There's no kind of like centralized cultural platform like Top of the Pops or Countdown in
Okay,
Australia. We don't
fair
have that
point.
anymore. We
Yeah.
just have our kind of like digitalized lanes. And I think as a result of that, there's no musical conversation between the mainstream and the alternative world. And as a result, pop the pop world just repeated itself
Mm.
for 20 years, and the alternative world has kind of done the same. And I think that's kind of why, like, um, every year, you say in the 1980s, every year music sounded different.
Yeah.
Whereas now it feels like um, music kind of always sounds the same. I mean, it doesn't feel like we're moving in a direction musically
I,
as a
I
society.
I get what you're saying. So something like from 2010 still sounds like it's current right now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
10 years ago, I mean, a song from over 10 years ago,
Yeah.
if you played it to me right now, I wouldn't be able to tell you if it was now 10 years ago, or even 20 years ago.
Mm.
Whereas in 1980, if the song was 2 years old, even a year old,
Mm.
most people, if you knew their music, would kind of recognize that. Um, then there's this kind of cyclical, repetitive, like the alternative world is just it's just nostalgia porn, and the mainstream world's kind of just repeating itself. And I think that there's a few like complicated reasons for that, but one of them is there's the kind of good alternative people aren't engaging with pop music.
Yeah.
Um, like whereas people used to, pop used to be more credible. I mean, it feels like it's getting a little more credible than it was 5 years ago.
Do you,
But I want to do that. Like I want to be, I don't want to be a band that only the nerdy snobs
mhm.
like or uh, feel access to,
Do you
you
feel that
know?
the consumption? I mean, me personally, I feel like there's been a massive dilution in all genres, to be honest with you, mainly due to the access of digital music and the um, evolution of home recording and how basically anyone can
Mm,
be basically a bedroom producer, right? It's not devaluing working in a studio as such because you still, unless you're freakishly really good at home production, there's always going to be a difference between a studio produced release compared to like something that's just like being churned out on a laptop in someone's bedroom in Brisbane, right?
yes.
But um, what I feel is that, and this leads into what you were what you were saying there. I feel people have, well, consumption of music has become lazy, and people aren't as seeking out. Like me coming from the music scene in the '90s and early 2000s, we used to go seek out music all the time. We used to try and find like the new artists
Mm,
and that. And now it's just spoon fed to you, right? Like you're on TikTok and
mm.
you're finding out something that way, or like if you, algorithms and shit. And I feel that has an impact on it. And so I think it loses, going to back what you're saying, and I think you were trying to portray that there's a loss of authenticity in modern pop music.
But just quickly, before I answer that, is this is the audio quality that these headphones are picking up? Is it good quality?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sometimes give me a word. Um, can you just say the right at the end of that question?
Have we lost authenticity in pop music?
Mm-mm. Yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose what you're saying is kind of true for all forms of culture now, and
Mm,
with just as a result of the digitalization of everything, and the whole that curated world thing, um, yeah, I mean, authenticity in pop music, like I don't fully know, like in a way, what that means, like authenticity, but I think in pop music there isn't an incentive to be new or different
mm,
anymore because there's such a specific demographic for every genre now. Um, uh, you don't you can kind of occupy the pop lane
Yeah.
and make it just carve out a career by just sort of running that very specific race. And because there's so many artists now fulfilling every other possible genre that could be wanted,
Mm.
no one's complaining if um, Halsey isn't sort of radically reinventing herself because there's another artist out there that can fill that gap for her.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's sort of the specialization, um, which not to get too like broad and like anti-capitalist, but like I suppose like classically like a criticism of capitalism is over specialization. We all have these specific lanes,
Hmm.
and you stick to them, and it's kind of soul crushing, and that's true of like every like general occupation. But I think that's also true now within music.
Yeah.
It's like that specific. You make the indie lo-fi trap
Stay in your
post
lane kind of thing,
thing,
right?
and yeah,
Yeah.
and because yeah, there's a gazillion artists for gazillion genres
Yep.
now. You just make your job is to hit that nail at that point, and making that. You know what I mean?
Well, you were saying last night is just that you, with the evolution of Radio Free Alice from that first EP to Polyester, and like I was saying, there is a sort of darker tone, and you wanted to change, you wanted to evolve, and
Yeah,
adopt and new feelings and new vibes and taking on influences, and I think with when I brought up the references to and which was used in your bio anyway, which was like 80s greats like the Smiths and the Cure and Talking Heads, and even to a more modern degree, Block Party. That's how I felt your music was more representative in a sense, but getting away from, I think you were trying to strive to get away from the standard indie sound, right, and adopt something, even though it's nostalgia porn, to quote you, in a sense, because you are being nostalgic for the 80s tones, but you're bringing it and giving it a fresh spin, because no one else is really doing this kind of sound in the indie spectrum right now. Well, not no, I'm aware of anyway.
that's true. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely like less than other genres. Mm, yeah. What was I gonna say about that? Yeah. I mean, it's not like, yeah, with the like the Strokesy thing. I remember seeing the bass player in Fontaines talk about like, um, it's kind of dangerous for like young indie bands to listen to the Strokes
Mm.
because it's such a blueprint. It's such a like a perfect starting point. Um, uh, it's like, I mean, I kind of just think of that first CP as like we're just kind of discovering who we are, and you kind of never
Yeah.
do discover, but you kind of get a little bit more specific. Um, and the first EPs, it's sort of a collage of like just kind of my favorite bands, like,
Yeah.
and it's so. I mean, this EP is also derivative, but the other one is, to me, even more obviously. Like I can listen to every song and even sections with every song. I can go, oh, in that moment we were trying to be the Jam, and in that moment we were trying to be the Libertines, and in
Yeah.
that moment we were trying to be the Strokes, and in that moment we were trying to be the Vampire Weekend, and in that, I can be like right down to like that verse is like it was so just kind of like I was just learning, I suppose.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like I'm not as certain. I know it's good and I like it, but I don't know what I'm kind of emulating any as specifically. Which is I think comes with like self-confidence. I mean, we're more better than we were, but we're also more confident. So um to have a song doesn't need to sound like a great band to know it is great.
Yeah.
Whereas it used to have to. I can just go, I don't know what that sounds like, but I like it, so it's good. And I'm confident enough in myself, or we're confident enough in ourselves to to know that if we like it, it's good. It doesn't have to sound like an already certified good band to be good.
But
You know?
at the heart of it, isn't that what art is supposed to be about? It's supposed to
Yeah,
be
I guess so.
doing what you want to do and expressing the way you want to feel, and you're not going to a blueprint. You're not going to what everyone else is saying you're supposed to do because you got to fit into this thing, right? This box. You're doing it because me personally, I play music because I like playing fucking music. It doesn't matter what genre it is. I play in a reggae band. I play in a roots band. I play in an indie band. I play in a heavy band. I don't give a fuck if I'm getting that release and I'm expressing myself via that art form. It's cathartic for me. And if someone else appreciates that and that spreads, then fucking sweet. But I think treating art and music as such as a commodity sometimes really gets me down, in the sense that because you're investing so much of your own time and money into it, and then you're going, fuck, I've got to recoup this, and then I want to make this a career. But if you don't, then therefore you're a failure. But you're not, because you've released art into this world that someone out there is going to fucking appreciate, right?
Well, hopefully, that's yeah. Hopefully,
yeah. Dude, come on, you're doing all right for yourselves.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. I mean, well, it's an interesting question when you say like that's what art is, or that's what art is about. Like when you said that, it sort of reminded me of something I think about sometimes. It's like if something is derivative, and therefore like less original, does that mean it's less valid? Like, is how essential is originality? How essential like criteria is originality for quality? You know, like does something have to be original to be good?
But is originality is almost impossible to achieve these days because everyone's influenced by something else. And the only way a lot of people actually the majority of people relate to music in a sense, because if you create something that has a bit of a sense of familiarity to it, that is actually going to last a lot longer and go further than something that's completely like left of center that people might just go, oh, I don't know, because this is new and weird to me. And listening,
but what's sorry?
No, I
was gonna say what's changed. Like, I think you're right about these times, but there was a time when it seemed like bands, artists were constantly being original. Why? What do you think's changed?
It's the dilution of
the internet.
It's the widespread reach of everything. Okay, so me being a 90s teenager, I would have to discover something by either one, listening to Triple J when they used to be good. I'm sorry, Triple J, but different now. Or going into like a record store like HMV or Sandy, or like the local record store, and hearing something that was playing in the background because that's what they were doing. They used to experiment with shit. That's the only way I really, or go to bands, like go to gigs and see shit that I'd never heard before. That was the only way I used to be able to absorb music, right? But now it's just, you're bombarded. And I think people look for something that's safe. I don't. I look for things that are a little bit different, and I always look for that goosebump moment. That's for me. And when a song comes through, to me, I mean, I get sent songs all the time. So much stuff, and a lot of it I go, yeah, that's cool, and I'll add it to like a playlist or to my front end new music dump or whatever like that. But if something really gets me and gives me like a goosebump moment, that's when I just go, fuck, I can write about this. And that's Johnny was like that. So Johnny off, not just blow smoke up your ass, but off Polyester, man. As I described it, it gave me that imagery of just coming home at 2:00 in the morning from a dive bar fucking binge, and just all of a sudden just walking over like a dark bridge, and just all of a sudden having this song and just fucking swinging around and just being an idiot dancing to it, because that is what it made me feel. If a song can make you feel way, then you're onto something, right? If it's just like, oh yeah, it's a cool song, yeah, good, sweet, that's art, it's put out there, oh good. But if you can change or evoke imagery or make people feel fucking something, or make you fucking cry, or make you just remember something from stoking up a memory from the past, that's, I think that's the ultimate job of a musician, is to tap into those emotions.
Yeah, well, it's definitely like, in my experience, is like the only like compass that you're using is like when you kind of write stuff by just constantly throwing melodies against a wall,
See what
and
sticks.
what sticks is just depend. Yeah, see what sticks, but it's like, well, what do you mean? What is the criteria for sticks? And it is, as you said, as you termed it, the goosebump moment. You just kind of constantly trying out melodies until one moment, for some reason, one comes on that makes you just like, oh, I don't know why, but that's just makes me feel amazing hearing that. I don't know really why. And then you follow that. It's not intellectual or technical. It's, that's why I'm as good of a guitar player as I was when I first learned guitar at like 14 or something. I haven't gotten better. And maybe this is just me lazily justifying to myself. I don't want to get better, and I never got music lessons in school or anything, and I don't want to, and I don't want to know the names of the chords, because I think that if you do, you're at risk of suddenly what sticks is now also about what is technically impressive to you. And when it shouldn't, that should be completely irrelevant. It should just purely be the feeling.
You're worried about
If an
freedom
E
being
major
sacrificed to
open chord
theory.
strikes, yeah, I don't want to be dictated by theory at all. I want to be able to hear a really boring chord and not know that it's an E major open chord. Because if I do, then it's like, then maybe I'll go, oh, that's stupid. Let's play a seventh or something. And I only be able to like be impressed by him, technically impressed with stuff. But who gives a shit about that? That's not the point,
That's it, dude. We're going in a far different direction to the previous podcast. Just so you know, we're going into the heavy philosophical shit. I love it. What I do want to bring up to you, and this is a very, very random reference, and I don't know if you're going to get it because you're of the wrong generation, but you may. Because Michael, your bass player, is also a sax player, right? And being utilized more on this new EP, on Polyester's EP, on the Polyester EP, more than on the Paris, on the self-titled one. Sorry, because I got Paris is gone stuck in my head. It was, I felt the sax was kind of buried in the mix on that EP because it does appear, but it's not as prevalent as it is on Polyester. But do you know there is a band that it made me think of because of your style? It was Ian Jury and the Blockheads.
Love that. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So the garage tones, but mixed with that like almost jazz like saxophone coming through there, and being
brass,
biting and just
funky
like
brass.
Yeah, and giving that sense of like sassiness and danger, but also like a sensuality to like this pure garage melding. I love that.
Yeah, I love Andrew. My dad has a poster of him up in the kitchen.
Yes.
The new Boots and Panties album framed.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love Andrew. Love Baxter Jury as well. We all love Baxter Jury. Do you know Baxter Jury?
No, I'm gonna have to look it up now.
He's his son.
Yeah.
Who's really good. Different, but you can tell he's just similar but different.
Still got that Cockney thing going.
Yeah.
Though?
Very much so. Very much so. But it's not that brass funky thing. It's more kind of, I don't know, it's like kind of slow electronic. Yeah, give it. I don't want to wrongly categorize it. So yeah, check it out.
I'm gonna have to do that. So
please.
when we were talking last night too, we were talking about how the EP basically came together overseas basically. I mean, you started recording in Australia first, and then you went over to England because you were on tour over there, and basically you were filling in time when you were over there and finishing off the EP too. So, how was that experience? Because I want to sum that up again.
Yeah, good. So yeah, we recorded a good chunk of it in Melbourne with a producer called Now Anzai,
Mm.
and then in London, kind of between shows and whatnot, we were sort of filling in the gaps with a producer called Yuin Pearson. Um, uh, uh, and kind of writing bits and pieces on the road a little bit. And yeah, Ewan also mixed it. Um, yeah, it was cool to have it both, like kind of record on both sides of the world. Yeah.
Yeah, adding it all that experience together would be pretty sweet. Like just going, oh yeah, mix over here and a bit over here and a bit over there. But is there any kind of memory that stands out the most out of that whole process though?
Of recording in the UK.
Oh, just the whole thing. Like there's just something. Just go. You know what? Fuck, I remember that bit, and that was just dope. Was that a hard question?
Um, um,
Is it a hard question?
the only thing that comes to mind is like there was on Johnny. I was always frustrated by two things. There's always things that I want to change with songs. Like
But
even now,
that
like there's
always happens
aspects of
though.
Spain vocally that I want to change. It's so annoying though. Um, but on Johnny, I was so happy because there was these two very specific things that I wanted to change.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize we were going to get the opportunity to kind of go back into the studio in London. And when we did, I got to add. I don't know if people listening know this song very well, but in the intro, there's a bit where it goes, no, 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 shout, shout. That bit right at
Yeah.
the start.
Yeah.
And there's also a harmony in the second verse, and I couldn't get over the fact that it wasn't that it should have it, or I wanted to have it. It just should. It was just it should have that. Like I just every time the song would play, I couldn't enjoy it because I was just like, but it should have had that. And I was so happy that I got to record that in London.
So do you think that
That's
made
not a very fun
no? But do you think that
fun
made the
studio
extra?
anecdote.
But there are these all extra organic bits in songs and great songs that happen like that. I mean, you think of The Police with Roxanne when Sting
Yeah.
sat on the piano and he's just laughing. You know what? Let's fucking keep that in. Just those little bits that you know are gonna make a difference.
Yeah. Well, because we always felt that like there was something a bit about that intro we didn't like. We also added in London, um, before the kind of the melody drops, going into the verse chords.
Yeah.
We made the kind of the drums and the bass thing at the beginning sort of stereoified, condensed, so that when the rest of the instruments came in, then it went into kind of like from almost like black and white to color. It just we worked on the intro and we made it so much better because initially we felt like it was boring, and it went from being an intro that I would sort of cringe at to I think the best intro on the EP. So pleased with that improvement.
I think it is the strongest song on the whole of that whole EP. To be honest with you, I mean,
do you think so?
Yeah, it is my favorite, the one that stands out. I mean, I go, I can't remember track 3, but I do go to that one. But Johnny's the one that really just, like I said earlier, it gives me that sort of goosebump, sort of evoking imagery thing. I don't know what it is about it. I think it is that bass line, how busy it is, but in a really good way. And then your vocals sort of just doing this whole like Morrissey, because you are doing a Morrissey fucking thing coming in there, the way that it's delivered. And just, yeah, I mean, I'm not a massive Smiths fan, but it did evoke that, and I really appreciate that. And I think that's why I like that song. I can't narrow it down, man. That's basically.
No, 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 no. That's interesting that you say it's the favorite because it's funny because actually like there was quite a while when we thought we weren't even gonna have Johnny on the EP.
Oh wow.
We were like really like unhappy. Yeah, we were like really unhappy with how it turned out initially. Before we went back in to the studio in London, we kind of just thought this song goes really well live, but it just doesn't work right now. The recording, it's just. I mean, we were very serious about taking it off the EP. We were going to,
Oh wow.
and until we went back in
Yeah.
and sort of added some things and mixed it again, and then we thought, actually, you know what? It's quite good now. And we sent it, and the PR team was like, actually, this should be the next single because originally it was in Spain, which is track 3.
Yep.
And we were like, what the fuck? We were gonna ditch this song 5 minutes ago, and now it's gonna be the single.
Yep.
So I'm very happy that like people seem to be really liking it. I'm like, phew, thank God we didn't throw it out. We were so close.
That's the outside perspective for you. That it does help when you get other people come in because you're just thinking, oh no, it's just a throwaway song. People just going, no, that's the one you got to be using. Yeah, interesting perspective. Hey?
Yeah.
Lucky.
Yeah, very interesting.
Anyway,
Lucky, yeah.
We're gonna wrap this up. You're still continuing on the tour for this release of Polyester. You still got like another 8? Is it another 8 dates that you got left to go? You got Sydney, Melbourne.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. I'll put the dates up on the podcast.
Sydney next, 23rd.
Yeah. But yeah,
cool.
Killing it.
Thanks, man.
You hang on the line. I could actually do a debrief with you this time around. But everyone else, do check out Radio Free Allison and the EP Polyester because it'll be out today once this podcast goes live, and it's sick. If you like I said, if you like sort of like the 80s sort of like new wave area and goth with The Cure, Smiths, and Talking Heads, and mixed with a bit of Block Party and The Strokes coming in, just try it out because it's dope. All right, Noah, thanks for coming on for this one, man. You just hang on the line there. Everyone else, bye. Hallelujah. Got through it. So stoked that Noah came back and did round 2. Way better podcast this time around. Bit more philosophical too, which was a little bit more interesting. I hope you enjoyed it. Do check out Polyester, the EP, particularly my favorite track on there, Johnny. It's such a great track. And if you do see Radio Free Allison coming through on the way of the tour, I'll chuck the tour dates in the description in this podcast. So do check that out. They are playing Sydney this weekend, I believe, and then making their way around. They've already done Brisbane. They've already done Byron. Yes, another podcast coming up next week. It's been a long time coming to this one. One of my favorite artists. They ranked extremely, extremely high in last year's Pointies Awards. So there's a hint for you. Stay tuned for that one. Until then, thank you for supporting local music, live music, Australian music, all sorts of music. You guys are legends. Thank you for hanging in there. Bye.